Hi again, G and Dainty here, and I want to start a video series here, and this is video one, obviously, as it says, and it's all about why B2B lead generation fails. And today I want to look at the first part of it. As I mentioned, video one. We're going to have probably 3 more videos on it, but I want to help people out. I want to show them why B2B lead generation fails in a lot of companies, and it goes talking to people and trying to figure out what they want, etc. And so let's look at what some of the reasons are. Well, one of the biggest reasons is they don't know their market. They don't understand their marketplace. And I know you're going to say, I understand mine and why am I watching this, but bear with me here, and I'm going to show you some of the areas that people don't get and that they don't understand. They don't know the issues their clients face, and therefore, how can they help them? Because that's what people want. They want you to help them reach their goals, and you help them reaching their goals by understanding what issues they face in reaching those goals and what your product or service can do to help them overcome those issues. Most people don't look at it that way. There's no value proposition. And I see this all the time, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples of this, is how people don't understand their market and no value proposition. And so people, they can't articulate a value proposition. They can't tell you what their value proposition is. They don't differentiate themselves in any way. Your value proposition will do that, but there are other ways too to differentiate yourself. We're going to talk about that. And then, of course, there's competition. How do you deal with your competition? I get tired of people that tell me they don't have any competition because they're so unique. And then I say, okay, what's your unique value proposition? And they can't figure it out. So let's go through them. Why B2B companies fail, and let's look at these ones first. So the first one I want to look at is most B2B companies don't understand their marketplace. They don't understand the companies that they want to deal with, their ideal client. They don't understand the ideal client with ideal person within that client they want to deal with. So let's first of all look at the ideal. What does your ideal client company look like? Well, here's one I don't want you to look at. I asked somebody once a few months ago. They wanted me to help them. They were from Asia, and they wanted me to help them with their business to get more business in North America. And so I asked them a few questions. And the first question I asked them is, what does your ideal client look like? Well, obviously English isn't their first language, so please excuse some of the spelling, but you know, this was also typed in a very hurried way without really reading it. And imagine if they did this. They want me to help them, and yet they're too lazy to, or even to get it. You see, they can spell expectation right, but they can't spell state right, or you know, other words, understanding. They leave words out. Company, they've put letters in the wrong order. So. And it really doesn't say anything. Our client company needs to be responsive, communicative, helpful in terms of understanding the scope and clearly state what is the expectations so we can serve in a better way. Well, I mean, what does that mean? Does that describe an ideal client to you? Of course not. So what does your ideal client look like? Well, the customer I'm talking about, the business, what does it look like? Do they work in a place like this? You know, where maybe they're a advertising agency, you know, and they're all creative, and so they decided to move into a creative building or whatever. But you know, so you got to understand that. Or are they work at home people, and they live in the country and they run down shack, and therefore they work at home, and maybe they have their business there, and they've got, you know, a dozen people working in this place, pretty big size home. What do they look like? Are they the corporate type where they, you know, they wear a shirt and tie and say in the financial district, that kind of thing, and therefore they work in a large office building? Is that what they look like? Or are they a little corner store, you know, where they have half a dozen people working there and they sell from the corner store? Maybe they're a professional business that does that. So what you have to do is you have to understand your ideal client. You have to understand their profile demographics. What industry are they in? How big are they? What are their distribution channels? What's their technology base? Who are their customers? What stage of development are they in? Are they a startup? Are they in growth mode? Have they been around a while and therefore they're just waiting? You know, they're not doing anything new. What's their vision? What's their reputation in their industry? What are their management priorities? How would you evaluate their perception of your industry product? How would you define their management style? So these are things you have to ask yourself. What are their goals and challenges? And we'll talk about that in a sec. So you have to understand your ideal customer so that you can sell to them. Know what they're like, particularly in today's age. If you're going to contact somebody, they expect you to know almost everything about them as well as they do. So you have to understand what your ideal client company looks like, and then you also have to understand what your ideal client person looks like. And a lot of times there are different people that you have to look at. I've talked to a number of executives recently, particularly CIOs, Chief Information Officers, because I ran a program for them about 4 or 5 years ago, where we had a group of CIOs get together, and it was get to know each other and talk about different issues that they had and how they could solve them, a networking group. And so I called them up recently. I wanted to find out how they buy, and I'm going to talk about that in a later video. So, what are some of the things that they talk, who's involved in the buying process? So you have to know that. And nowadays, they have buying committees where there's a group of people involved, and they look at everything, and then they recommend what they should buy. And 99.9 times out of 100, the recommendation they make is taken. So you have to get to know those people. But you have to understand, particularly the person that makes the final decision, what we always call the financial buyer or the check signer. What are their roles and responsibilities? What are their objectives, business objectives and metrics? What are their strategies, initiatives? Who do they work with? What do they do? What do they do online? What are their pains and challenges and issues? There's a bunch of things you need to know about them. What is their status quo right now? What do they have? What are their change drivers and inhibitors, and who influences them? Well, obviously this committee will influence them and many others. So you've got to understand what your ideal client person looks like. Is it this type of, is it cool guy? Is it an agency guy or whatever? Maybe it's a guy who's in runs a coffee shop with, a dozen people. I don't know what your business is, but you're selling to another business. This is what you have to know. Who is the person that really makes the final decision? And a lot of people dress like this now, even in larger companies. Or is it the suit guy? Does he have, he's a corporate guy, works in the financial industry or whatever. You have to understand who they are. Or is it a woman? It could be a man or a woman. Obviously, lots and lots of women running businesses now. And what type of business does she do? What's her style? Again, understanding her persona. Or is she a corporate person? Maybe she's running a real estate agency business and has to dress up every day or whatever, and she's got all kinds of people working for her. So you have to understand your client's business, and you have to understand the people that run that business, so you can talk to them in an intelligent manner that shows that you really do understand their business and you can help them. So that's the client persona, the actual person you're going to talk to. You have to know them. Now, what issues does your ideal client face? Is it access to capital? A lot of companies these days are having a lot of trouble getting capital. VCs venture capitalists aren't investing the way they used to. If it's a startup, or banks are really tough, although access to some capital is pretty easy with the interest rates being so low these days. But some people are still having trouble getting capital. Do they have the right people? Do they? Maybe you're an HR firm and you need to help them hire people, or whatever you're doing. Do they have the right people that can help you get involved with their company? So you have to understand what their issues are right now. And hiring the right people is, even though there is a high unemployment rate throughout, particularly North America and Europe, some people are still having trouble getting the right skill sets. Some people don't want to train. Some companies don't want to hire to train. So, you've got to look at those factors. Is growth an issue with them? Or are they happy with their growth? Now, obviously, what I do is I try and help companies grow. And some people tell me they're happy with their growth. Oh, we've got so many people knocking on our door now, I don't need to do it. And that's fine, and I can't help them. But most people need to grow, so they need to acquire new clients. And that's what this B2B lead generation is all about. But you have to understand what their clients are. And then maybe just the general economy is hurting them. And it's hurting everybody these days. I mean, ever since '08 when we had that crash, nobody's really, no industry in particular. Sure, there have been some big success stories, and that's because it's been the capital markets have been pretty easy to access for a lot of companies. But what they've done is build up a lot of debt, and debt is becoming a crisis, and that's going to hurt everybody too, which is part of the economy and maybe part of their business. They got access to capital, and they got some easy money, but their business wasn't growing, and therefore they didn't have the right people to help it grow. So there's all kinds of issues that a company faces. But you have to understand what it is, and then you have to understand how you can help them. And how do you do this? Well, how do you find out what it is? Well, you do research, you interview some of the people, or just go talk to them in general. And I have a way to find out what issues and how, and I've put together a great plan. I didn't put it together on my own, but in the past with some colleagues, how to show their goals through issues that they face, reaching their goals, and therefore how your products and services can find them. It's a great way to go through it. If you're interested, please let me know. So then you've got to decide, all right, I know who my ideal company is. I know who my ideal client is. I know their issues and what they're trying to face and what they're doing. What's my unique value proposition that I can help them with their business? What does my company offer that's unique and will help them grow their business? So back to that other company again that I talked to that asked me to help them, and I said, okay, what's your unique value proposition? Well, again, English isn't their first language, but this was all put out in a hurry, and I hope they wouldn't put this out to a client. But tell me what this is. I mean, there's nothing unique about this at all, and I don't even think there's any value in it. It's a proposition, I guess, but that's about it. Value for the client: deliver him or her final product that is best quality, completely bug-free, and only for the product quality he like to work with us in continuous basis. So in short, we deliver quality apart from all other common, and I'm not sure what that we show that we make towards our client, like problem solving, good communication, deliver a complete and usable product for a long time. Now, if you had a client or a prospect tell you that, what would be the first thing you'd do if you were looking for a service from them? I think you'd probably say, thanks very much, we'll get back to you. And then, of course, you never would. So this is what's going to happen here is that there's no uniqueness about that, and there's no value in it that I can really see. A little bit of stuff, but I mean, everybody tells you that. So there's really no value in it to me. I don't see any value. It's just a platitude. You know, it's a bromide, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's so plain, and it doesn't differentiate them at all. There's no unique or value proposition to it. So how can you develop what I like to call a core marketing message or your unique value proposition? Well, first of all, you gotta, as I mentioned, what's your target market? What clients do you serve? So if people ask you what your value proposition or how you can help them, your core marketing message, what clients do you serve? You tell them. Give a detailed profile of your ideal client, including demographics, basic facts such as industry, etc. I want to read one that a fellow did a number of years ago with me when I talked about his core marketing message. I think he did a good job. He talked about his current client as a government, and it's a large client, and have penetrated certain ministries into it, and it's in Canada. So I focus on these ministries and expand into others. As talked about one player being a key client in the public sector. Another client can be the private sector, financial industry. The alternative focus industry can be telecommunications. So he's nailed that down. What issues do they face? What problems, pain, predicament, or challenge are your prospects facing or will face that would make them seek assistance to you? Well, this guy's in the placement business, people placement business, search business. So he finds quality resources on time and on budget. And everybody said that. And someone said he's good, fast, and cheap, but you can only pick two. So he picked two. He's the market, product, service knowledge. Every client appreciates this and lacks. So he understands their market, their product, and what service they're looking for. And also business solutions. Not every IT manager is informed enough to know good solutions, product knowledge. So he sees the issues that they're facing. Now the next year I'm going to talk about solution. You want to add a benefit to all of it. So what results do you produce when working with clients? That's your solution. When you stop working with them, what can you expect their condition will be? So they receive good client attention. They connect with me. They trust me. He's a good search guy. He sees transparency in the knowledge and information he shares with them, which is really good. They receive good value. That's what they've told him. And if I don't offer these services, they have to search and hope for the same service somewhere else. And they may not get a fair value at a different price. So that's a little vague solution, but you have to understand your solution and put a benefit in. Social proof and benefits. Now, social proof consists of three things. It consists of case studies for people. It consists of testimonials, and it consists of authority. So what are your clients? How have you helped those clients in the past? Do a case study on it. What testimonial did they give you? And also, what authorities do you work with? Like, as an example, are you an IBM or a Microsoft business partner, or an Apple business partner, or a large company like that, a Cisco business partner? Or do you work with, with other ones? So show them who you've got authority with. And the social proof, of course, is if other people have done it, then they think they can do it. And that's how they associate your business with them. So social proof benefits are important. Okay, it's important to have that social proof. And then finally, what differentiates you? What benefits differentiate you? And the best way to do that is through numbers. I want to read you one benefit or how this fella differentiated himself here. It says one of his clients said he was challenged with over 10 different hires with a very short timelines. And the client I was working with, he has been able to bring me a consistent point of contacts that has allowed me to grow my mobile technology vision in short order. Very professional and very flexible in unusual circumstances and requirements. Now that's a great differentiator, right? And it brings social proof, brings it all back together. So what differentiates you in your benefits? So have benefits in all of that. So when you talk about a core marketing message, this is how I like to present it. What's your target market? What issues do they face? What solution do you bring? And who else has used you in the past? Give me proof of that. And therefore, what differentiates you? And the best way to differentiate yourself is with numbers. Like this fellow said, he had 10 hires. His client told me he had 10 hires. And what you can do, and depending on what you're selling, a product or a service, in mine, I help companies increase their revenue by 25 to 100% with a maximum of 2-year period. That's a pretty good, and I've got some proof for that. So that's the solution I bring. Social proof says, who have you done it for before? Or what authorities do you have that you work with that can back you up? And what benefits do you have? Talk about numbers, and therefore what differentiates you from your competition. Okay? So that's your core marketing message. That's your value proposition. That's how you differentiate yourself from other people. So this is how this fella decided that he would differentiate himself. People promise us a lot and deliver very little. That's very true. We believe in work, hence we deliver many things more which never promised. Support, communication, and quality, this three combines to create our strength and uniquely define us with the ample ability to deliver in-time, on-demand solutions. Does that differentiate him from anybody else? Go up and look at IT solution companies. Just type it into Google and you'll get almost everybody saying the same thing. No numbers there. No differentiation with a client testimonial. Nothing like that. So you've got to find a way to differentiate yourself. And I just showed you a really good way to do that. You see, this doesn't do anything. Now, irrespective of the English involved and the spelling, the whole result is there's no differentiation in any of those things he's talked about. There's nothing unique about his value proposition, and he really hasn't defined his client. How could you work with somebody like that? How can you help somebody like that? Or how could a salesperson help somebody like that when they don't even know their own business very well? Because if you said those things to a client, you might as well go up and run and beat your head against the wall because you're not going to get very far with them. I hope this is making sense to you and everything. I talked to a person recently, a client, and it's a woman, and she's running a business, and what she wanted to do was she's tried to sell this software product she has, and it has some unique qualities about it that could probably be sold very well, but she's hired half a dozen or so salespeople over the past 5 or 6 years, and none of them have been successful with her because she hasn't got these things. She's defined who her client is, but there's no unique value proposition and no differentiator. And, you know, there's nothing there that would make people jump up and say, hey, I'd like you to come and talk to me about this. There's no numbers in the, and yet when I talk to her about it, she knows there are some numbers there. You've got to sit down with your client and ask them what benefit do they get from working with you? What results did they get? You have to know the results. What results can you deliver? That's what you have to know. What results can you deliver based on what your benefits are? And that's how you build a relationship to get other results, to get other clients. So you have to understand that. You have to understand the results based on numbers. As you got an HR package, you know, maybe you help them cut their time in half for hiring people because your package helps them differentiate. That's a huge number because now people are up and working faster. They're also getting better people, so you don't have to fire them later because they're incompetent and then start all over again. So there's all kinds of reasons why your business or your system or your service can help clients. You got to ask your clients, what results did I get? Why did you decide to work with me, and what results did I get? The two best questions you can ask anybody. The other thing, of course, is who is your competition? Now, you should know this because when you go into a client, you probably want to know, and I love to ask clients who else is bidding on this. If there are, and if there's nobody else, then that's great too. But you want to be the person in blue. You want to be out in front of everybody, even though you're going to have lots of competition. I laugh at people when I say to them, who's your competition? Oh, we don't have any. We're so unique. Oh, what makes you unique? And they can't tell you what makes you unique. They give you a thing like I just showed you before. You know, we work well with people and we help them well, and nobody else does that. Well, that's a load of crap, load of baloney, as we used to say. That's not true. You got all kinds of competition, and you have competition you don't even know about because they're not direct competition, they're indirect, but they can show your potential client, your prospect, another way of doing things that maybe they haven't thought about. And if you can do that, that's another differentiator. So you have competition that differentiates himself by not being in your what you think are your competition. So you have to understand you got all kinds of competition. You got to work with your client on how to help them. So this is why marketers and salespeople fail. There's no direction or foundation to what they're doing. Okay? You have to understand your ideal client customer. You have to understand your ideal client person. You have to understand what issues they face. You have to understand what your unique value proposition is, what differentiates you, and who your competition is, so you understand where they're coming from and therefore how you can, we used to use the term when I worked for IBM, knock them off, or what do you have that they can't offer. So you have to get all of that. You need your direction, and you need this foundation before you can really move forward, and very few companies have this. So that's why B2B lead generation fails. That's video 1, the foundation. Okay? Don't understand their market and how they can serve that market. Next time in video 2, we're going to talk about another way that B2B companies fail and areas that you have to understand in order to be productive. If you have any questions, or please make comments below, I would appreciate that. Please email me at ian@b2bbusinesscoach.com. You can just click on my signature below, or call me if you wish, but I appreciate any comments you have, and please pass this on to people you think may get some benefit out of it, whether it's a colleague or an employee or whoever that would help them. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to seeing you in video 2.